Peterson Designs. I'm already stumbling. I'm just hopping on here. I feel like a hot mess. I just having one of those mornings. I am prepping a round piece of wood. I'll try and get the camera put down when I'm ready to work on it. It is, I think, 18-inch round wood sign. I get these at Menards. Yeah, it's 18 inches. I get these at Menards. They have like a section next to all the wood supplies where they'll have these rounds plus other woods you can craft with. It's about an inch thick. I am going to make a wedding present. I have a friend and coworker who is getting married next month, and I realize time is flying by and I gotta get started on this. I stained this over the weekend in Minwax. I can't remember the color, I'm sorry. Basically, I wiped it on and immediately wiped it off. I did the sides, and I always do my backs. I'm doing something a little bit different. I've made these into where I've made them into flags where I've had the stripes. So I do have practice with that, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I saw on Pinterest where they have like part of it wood, they'll have another part of it like a white stripe, and the rest is like black. My friend Katie, I think will be perfect for her home decor because it's neutral. And also with these, if you're giving these as gifts, I usually recommend sticking with the 18 inches or smaller. 18 inches, 15 inches, 12 inches, because you don't know how much room they're going to have or if they're going to like something really big. So this is the largest I would go. So let's get off me. So basically I'm using painter's tape. And I kind of know what I'm going to do, but I'm kind of also just winging it, so bear with me. I usually use the green painter's tape, but I had my daughter grab some. It's just personal preference. I think it depends on how you prep it, whether or not it works very well. So I'm going with the grain. I'm finding my horizontal. I don't want it sideways and do a line. You want to keep it kind of horizontal. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but try and get it close. So here I go standing again. So basically I'm thinking about maybe having like this much of the wood grain left. So I'll have to tape this off and just try and keep it horizontal as best I can. So from here up I'll paint white. And I gotta be careful with my tape here because I don't want this part going up like that. I want it to stay so it's kind of flat. You see what I mean? Because from here, I'll paint around the sides too. So I'm gonna do the same thing around here. I'm feeling kind of out of sorts today because I can't find my hair clip, of all things. I almost always have my hair up, especially when it's hot out, because I tend to sweat, you know, redheads and heat. Okay, so I've got that. Can you see that okay? I don't know if I should have done this on my iPad. So, and I'll end up painting from this on up, but I'm going to prep the tape first so I don't want paint leaking underneath. So I'm just going to use a little bit of Mod Podge and just kind of brandish over the tape. Not a lot. But I don't want paint seeping underneath that tape. I want a nice crystalline. And this usually will help it. And one thing I forgot to do was I forgot to put a coat of sealer over this. So if I do get a little bit of leakage underneath, it might be a little bit harder to clean up. And a coat of sealer will usually prevent that. I've had this bottle of Mod Podge forever. I'm just going to wipe off the extra. And then I always keep a glass of water handy so I can put my used brushes in there so I don't ruin them. And I think I'm going to use, I want black, but I won't be able to do that today. That'll be something I'll have to do next time. I think I'll stick with fluff. It's kind of like a Dixie Belle's creamy white, or I could use sandbar. But it'll be a nice neutral color. And I'll end up painting everything up because I don't want any rigid lines. I want this to be all solid. So after this dries, then well, I can't do it tomorrow, but the next time then I'll come back and I'll tape off and I'll do my black on and I'll pop on and show you. So it'll be like a multi-step process that I'll show you. Okay guys, bear with me. I gotta do some pounding. It's gonna shake the camera. Yep, it worked. I learned if you can't get these jars open, you have to use a hammer. You can always, if the lid's on good, you can turn it upside down and smack it. But if you can't get it open, make sure if you use a hammer, it's around the edges, not the middle. I've done that once before and I broke the lid and had a nice big mess. So I like that color. It looks white, but it's kind of like a creamy off-white. So, and that part's still a little bit wet, so I'll start at the top. And I'm just going to paint. And just watch for any debris just in case. I thought I saw a hair, but it must not have been. And I just do a thin coat. If I need to come back and do a second coat, I do that. But with this part, I'm not going to worry about it because this area is going to be in black anyway. I just don't want any sharp ridges from having different layers of paint. And my battery's low. Hopefully we can hang on here a little bit. If it cuts out, you'll know my phone died. Oops. And I tend to paint with the grain. I'm kind of excited about doing this one. I haven't done this and I think it's going to be lots of fun. I get requests for blending the backgrounds. I know blending furniture is really popular, but when I do signs for wedding presents and the background is blended, then I tend to get more requests online. Can you do one for me? So those are really popular and fun to do. Okay, see, so I'm just kind of going over the bottom edge of the paint. Careful, I don't want to push paint underneath there. Yeah, I'll probably have to do like a second coat because I don't want the bottom to be streaky like that. Not too bad, but that's okay. And then paint your sides. If you've done one of these, let me know. I would love to hear how it turned out. Yeah, it's a wedding up in Ames, and I was told we can dress however we want, we can be comfortable. And it's like, you don't tell us that, because down here in southern Iowa we'll come in jeans and t-shirts. So we're going, I'm going dress shopping this weekend with my daughter. I want something comfy, but I want something pretty and presentable. I'm just lightly going over the edges so I don't push the paint underneath the tape. I do sand these boards when I bring them home from Menards, but I don't sand them completely smooth. I like the rustic look. And with these rounded edges, they're kind of hard to sand smooth because there's always going to be something that's kind of uneven. As when you're sanding a flat board, it's easier to keep it. Yeah. Did you see that? Dropped my brush on my lap. Okay. So there's the bottom half. So once that's dry, then I'll come back over and I'll do another light coat over the whole thing pretty much because I don't want any sharp ridges from a layer of paint not being painted. And then I'll remove the tape carefully. And when I do remove the tape, I tend to pull and I pull away kind of like on a corner, so that way it kind of helps prevent the tape pulling the paint. Any questions, let me know and I'll pop on again when I'm ready to do the next layer. It worked. Yay. Here I'm concentrating on holding the sign with one hand and the phone the other, and I wasn't talking. All right, girls, ladies, MPD tribe. I will let this cure, and the next time I pop on, I'll probably have the area kind of lightly sanded with a 220 grit sanding block. I'll dust it down or wipe the dust off. I'll add a layer of sealer, and then when I'm ready to paint the next layer, I'll pop on and show you how I do that. Any questions, let me know. So far, so good. Okay, I think we're going. Hi, my name is Melissa with Melissa Peterson Designs. I am working on the second part of Katie and Tanner's wedding sign. The other day, we did the stripes, or the top part of it. I had this part already stained. I laid off my painter's tape and painted that part on up. Later that afternoon, after this paint dried, I went ahead and used my 220 grit sanding block that I got from True Value, I think, uptown, and I just lightly, with the grain, went side to side and just kind of lightly sanded that down. And sorry about that. And then I went ahead and put a coat of sealer on, and I used Dixie Belle's clear coat. And it's been sitting since then. I usually like to put a coat of clear coat on before and then wait a day before I move on if I'm adding tape, or preferably, or even stencils. Now I need to do the black portion of the sign, and I'm debating. I've got time to think about this because over the weekend I'm going to work on the actual design on my silhouette. I'm probably going to go ahead and where you can get on the computer and you can I can show you on the computer how I do my designs. I think I'm going to go ahead and tape that so you can kind of see how I work, mistakes and all. And I'm thinking about doing this one differently. I'm thinking, okay, so today we're going to tape off the bottom part and I'm going to paint the black on up. Normally when I see these on Pinterest, they'll have this part down and that part on the top. I'm thinking about doing it differently and having it this way. Their last name is Tanner, T-A-N-N-E-R, so I'm not going to have any, you know, tails from the Y or a J or a G to worry about. Because if I did, I would definitely keep it this way and probably bring the tail down to kind of incorporate it all. So let me know what you think about that. So I'm thinking about doing it this way. So okay, we'll go ahead and get started because this won't take very long. I'm going to put you down so you can kind of see what I'm doing, hopefully. There we go. Okay, just using 1-inch painter's tape, and I'm going to actually use it to measure my 1 inch up. I decided to go ahead and just stick with the inch. And that'll just be my guide of how far up to go with my layer. So then I'll just go ahead and do my best to lay that out. I can bring that up now. And the same as before, if you just pull the tape up, it's going to want to curve with the corner there. So it's more of a curve too. I'm going to have to go back and use other tape. It's not going to let me do it. I want to keep this as straight as I can on the ends because I always paint my ends in my back. So, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Gosh darn it, that's not going to work. That's what I'm thinking. I'm all backwards. Okay, that will work right there. So this part's all bubbled up and this part's all straight. So I'll just kind of smooth it down there a little bit. So you don't want any gaps. That would not have been a fun mistake to fix later. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do my Mod Podge. My sinuses are running. I did some juicing this morning and I put a little 2 extra ginger in there, so now it's got everything kind of opened up. Okay. I'm gonna have to get a new thing of Mod Podge. I got a little bit left over, but it looks like it's not lasting very well at the bottom. So I'm just kind of brandishing the tape like I did the other day. I'm just lightly going over the edges so that way it kind of seals it so the paint doesn't seep underneath the tape. There we go. Okay, now I've got my caviar black. I suggest don't buying these bottles. They're FIFO bottles. I thought they'd be a great way to store paint, but they dry out in these bottles. And then you shake them up and you're supposed to squirt them out like ketchup, and a lot of times it'll splatter. So it's a big mess. So I've been kind of using it out of the lids. And so once these are done, I'm not refilling them. I'm just getting rid of them. And I'm going to want this to be kind of like a solid black, so this will probably take 2 coats. I always do thin coats. So yeah, when I decide this weekend, I'm not sure it'll be Friday night, probably Saturday night. I'll get on. It won't be live. It'll be just a video that I do. I'll just kind of go through and video how I design this layout. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. And just be careful down here you don't get black where you don't want it. There is a layer of sealer on here, so if I do, it'll be a little bit easier to clean up than if there wasn't a coat of sealer. And that's why I usually do sealer in between, because that way if I make a mistake, it's pretty easy to clean up. Whew. And that edge is there is a little bit rough. When I talked about sanding these boards, I sand the tops really good. It's the sides that I kind of keep a little bit rough and a little bit rustic. Yeah, I use my lids on my paint jars to paint out of a lot. So did you see I put a new design in the library last night, the boo? If there's something you like, a saying or anything like for me to see if I can add, let me know. I was going to work on a Christmas design, but that one kind of hit me and I wanted to get that one done before it got too late in the season. Here we're in September. I wanted to give you guys a chance to play with it. This year's flying by fast. So you just gotta be careful on the edges. You don't push the paint underneath the tape. Okay, so once this dries, I'll do a second coat and then I'll remove the tape and hopefully I have no cleanup to do. The last one went really well. I love when it works out like that. Okay, any questions, let me know, guys. Okay, here I had to make a few changes. I decided to go with just Tanner and Katie. I am making a border that is 18 inches, which is the approximate measurements of my round sign. So I'm working on fitting that into this cutting square here, or design space. And then I'm going to make a copy of this circle by highlighting it, going to edit, copy, and then I'll go back to edit and paste. And then I'll make this circle 16 inches because I wanted to have a 1-inch buffer area inside the circle where I'll put my design in. That way I don't go over the edge when I actually print the stencil. I want to make sure it fits. I'm just making sure everything is centered. And I like working with my designs in black. And every time I make a design or a shape, it always comes up with a red cut line, and I always change these to black. That's just my personal preference. Now I'm making a 7-inch rectangle. If you remember from the board I have prepped, the circle I have prepped, I have an area at the top where I have the white border and then I have the stained area. I'm just taking this into consideration so that way when I go to place Tanner and Katie, the font for Tanner and Katie, that'll help me kind of guide where I want to have this placed when I go to cut the stencil. And I always push the font in with the corners. If you do the middles or the side, it kind of distorts the font, so you got to be careful using that. See how it kind of distorts a little bit? Oh, not yet. Oh, here. This is where I'm scooting in the fonts a little bit because I wanted to have more room. I wanted the spacing a little bit closer together. So I ungrouped Tanner and Katie, and then I grouped together the part I wanted and scooted in the and Katie, and now I'm scooting in the Katie part. Now I'm selecting everything and regrouping it. Here you go. You can kind of see here how it gets distorted when you pull from the middles instead of from the corners. Just remember the edit and undo button is your friend. If you make a mistake, you can always go back and undo until you get it back to where you want it. I'm just making sure everything's centered. My personal preference when I go to, when I make a design and I get ready to cut, I always make a copy of it and go to a new page and paste it. This way, if I need to make changes, I have my original on a different page. I'm going to delete the inner circle because I don't want that border cut, but I do want the outside border cut, and I do want the bottom part of that rectangle cut because that'll help me with placement when it comes to applying the stencil on the wood round. My contact paper will be approximately 12 inches wide and about 20 inches long. Here I have it for 18 inches because I got a little messed up. But it's 12 by 18 here. I'm rotating it to the side and making sure it fits in the cut area because I need to have Tanner and Katie cut correctly. And I want most of that circle cut, and I want that top part of that rectangle or the bottom part of that rectangle cut. So I'm just working on fitting that in. And it looks like the E's not quite in the cutting range, so I have to scoot that up a little bit. And just to make sure I'm magnifying so I can get a closer look. Okay, the E's in there correctly now. So everything that I need to be cut will be cut. And I'll have part of the border included in this also. Hey, there we go. It's Melissa with Melissa Peterson Designs. I was determined to go live today, and I'm working on doing just that here in just a little bit ago. Hang on a second. I am working on my friend's wedding present for Katie and Tanner, and realized this morning that I had the design wrong. Something wasn't ringing right, and I looked over the invitations, and nowhere to be seen was their last name. So I messaged another friend and asked her if she knew if Katie was taking Tanner's last name, and she didn't know either. Came back and asked her and said, nope, she's not. I really don't want to make, I mean, the sign would have worked. I already made a one of those centerpiece boxes last year. They're going to use at the wedding with his last name on it, so she's using that. But I just didn't want to give her a gift. I wanted something that was just for them too, and I didn't want to add both last names on there. I want to keep it simple, so I decided to go with just their first names. I think on the top part of this sign, I'm going to do it this way. I think I'm going to come back and do the painter's tape and actually do an inch and do black up here also. And then I'm going to do a bow on top, and then we'll just have Tanner and Katie down here and just keep it simple. That kind of reminds me of the box I did for them last year for the centerpiece that they asked me to do last year for their wedding reception for this year. So that was my goal, was to keep it simple, personal. So I've got the design redone, and I went ahead and videotaped it, and now I am getting ready to cut my contact paper, and I was just hopping on here to show you this part, and then once I get the contact paper cut, I'm going to actually go in the group and go live. So you can just kind of watch what I do here. So my silhouette cuts 12 inches, up to 12 inches in the design. I usually add 13 inches on my contact paper and go by width. This is 18 or 20. This is 20 inches deep. It actually gives me a little bit more leeway. So this is what I will use for my stencil. And I also use clear contact paper for my transfer tape. Okay, and I've got my design ready to go. Probably can't see that very well. I'll pause you. Pardon the mess. I'll show you how I load it. No mat. With the contact paper and any vinyl I use, I do not use a mat. And since I have an extra inch overage, I just go ahead and line it up underneath the rollers to make sure this side's covered. I technically have Bluetooth capability on here, but it worked the first couple times and something got disconnected and I haven't gone back to figure out how. So now that I'm connected, I'm looking for contact paper. It's on cut, and I use a ratchet blade, not the auto blade. And then since my blade's getting a little dull, I always up the force from my settings from 5 to 7. And every silhouette's different. Every blade's different. So you can get a new blade, sometimes you have to readjust it. So doing test strips is always nice. And this will take about 5 minutes to cut. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it and then we'll get ready to go live. Hello, I am getting ready to let her Katie sign. I had to make some changes. My name is Melissa with Melissa Peterson Designs. Hopefully we're in the right group, MPD tribe group. Good Lord, I hope we are. If Katie sees this, I'm going to scream. Hang on. Okay, back again. I just had a funny feeling. My name is Melissa with Melissa Peterson Designs. In the MPD tribe group, trying to keep this private. Working on Katie's sign for her wedding present, and I just cut my stencil, contact paper. Here comes the fun part, is weeding it, because sometimes it's hard to see. I had to change the design a little bit. I realized this morning, thankfully, we didn't do this yesterday, that Katie's not taking her last name. Her husband's last name. So I didn't really want to do smart on there. Last year, she had me make a centerpiece box, one of those mason jar boxes, and she's going to use that as her centerpiece at the wedding reception, and she had me put smart on there. So I didn't think nothing of it. So I talked to one of my girlfriends, and she messaged Katie and said, nope, she's not taking his last name. She's keeping her own. So I went back and redid it. So pretty much the same thing. I'll share it in the final video once I get everything pieced together. I wanted to keep it simple. I'm just sticking with the names. I'm not adding the wedding date or the established date. I just really feel like I want to do something different with this. And also, I have decided, see what you think, I'm going to add a black stripe at the top. Because I think, like Carmelina said, I think the thing is a little bit too top heavy. So I'm going to do it correctly, hopefully, 1-inch sign, and then just paint the top part black. Let me know what you think. And I'm planning on adding I'm thinking maybe a burlap with a buffalo plaid, buffalo checked bow to the top to kind of embellish it a little bit. I don't want to do too much because, like I said, I want to keep it simple. So yesterday I came up and lightly sanded this area down and added a coat of sealer. Normally these don't take that long to make, but I've just kind of been fitting this in as I go. So let me go ahead and get this weeded. You got any questions, let me know. Let me know what you think about the black stripe on the top, if you think that's a good idea. And part of that, the square I had done and the circle I went ahead and cut. That'll help me guide this when it comes time to applying the stencil to the sign. I I just received my first Christmas request last night, or a Christmas gift request, so it's not technically going to be personalized. So I think I'm going to make that one of my group projects. I like to come in here every week, at least do one project in here with you guys. So, oh, put you down so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. So, there's the outline of the circle. I got a little bit of tail right there. That's no big deal. And I liked the font that I'd used for Smart, so I went ahead and used that for their first names, and that's the only font I used. When I share the video, you'll see how I kind of rearrange the letters again a little bit. My blade on my silhouette is getting a little bit dull, so I have to kind of up the force. There, I thought that was going to be an issue. And to do my weeding, I use these or a dental pick. And this font all came in one piece. Sometimes the fonts that are in cursive, you have to weld them, or each individual letter comes out as a separate piece, and it can be kind of a pain in the butt. And I forgot to weld it, and it looks like this font was all one piece. This font is called Satis, I believe, how you pronounce it. I was gonna say, that does not look like a K. There we go. And if you hear a heavy panter in the background, Piper just came up to supervise. She's my guardian and supervisor. There we go. It's probably gonna look backwards, but just like that. Since I've rearranged, I cannot find my favorite squeegee. I saw it once, thought I put it in a safe place, and I haven't seen it again since. So I'm stuck using this or the big clunky purple one I had earlier. So I'm using Star Contact Paper as my transfer tape. Just making sure it's on good. I usually pick a corner and just start pulling. And if part of that stencil comes up, you just push it back down on the transfer tape and just keep pulling slowly until you get it all off. Oh, that E came up. Didn't come up with it. It's kind of ripped off. No biggie. Just pull it up. That doesn't happen very often. There we go. Okay. Now since we've got this border, that'll kind of help us line it up easier on our sign. And since I've got a little leeway here, I've got a little wiggle room to reposition it the way I want it. This straight line will help me kind of keep it straight along the top. I love these circles, but sometimes they're hard to get them level or horizontal or straight. I think I like that. It's not pushed down yet, but I think I like the placement of that. I always start from the middle and push out. And I won't take this part off because that'll be on there to help protect the sign from getting paint on it when I go to letter. Boy, that needs gonna cause me trouble today. Tomorrow I'm running to Hobby Lobby, so I'm going to do some shopping for some ribbon tomorrow for this sign. Because I think the ribbon I have is too thick or too wide. Just make sure everything's pushed. Oh, rolled that right up, didn't I? Just push it back down when something like that happens. You want the edges all pushed down so the paint doesn't seep underneath. Okay, this is on a black background, so I'm going to use black paint to seal the edges. If I have a solid background, I prefer doing that method than Mod Podge. I don't remember me saying this before, but if you ever do don't ever do the FIFO bottles. They look great, but they don't work that great. I think I get more wastage than I thought I would than just paint out of the jar. So basically, over the black, I'm just trying to get all the black paint in the edges. That way it kind of helps seal up any gaps that there might be. And if I was using this on a blended background or a stained background, I would do the same thing with the Mod Podge. Or you can use sealer too. And I go kind of in all different directions. That way if there's any tiny little gaps, hopefully the black paint will kind of find it. Oh, these are cute. It's the first time I've actually used this font, I believe, for something like this. And it won't take this too long to dry. I'm going to do the lettering and the fluff like I did with the border here. I keep my brushes in these containers to kind of help keep them clean. And I'm using like a little bouncer. Walmart has them, Hobby Lobby has them. Okay, I'm sorry guys, I gotta pound again. 1, 2, 3. Sorry baby, I'm sorry. You know when I usually do that. I scared Piper. Normally she doesn't jump. She knows me. Okay. And we're just going in up and down motion. And with it being over black paint, it might need to take 2 coats. I'll know better once this is on and dry whether or not it needs to. Didn't get a chance this week to work on any free designs. I was wanting to start focusing on Christmas stuff. Let me know if there's anything you'd like for me to work on. I'm trying to learn a couple new programs, Illustrator and Photoshop. I've got Lightroom kind of down for my pictures, because some designs I have to buy commercial shapes and add my own flair to them to make sure that to make them my own, and I gotta buy a commercial to do that. But I was working on a pumpkin one last night. It was a transparent background. It's really pretty, but it won't transfer over into an SVG. It's too messy. So I'm thinking about adding that to the library just as a PNG background. That way, if you wanted to like put it on a t-shirt or something, just for personal use, you can. Technically, I did buy that as a commercial design, so I was just disappointed that I couldn't get it to transfer over into an SVG design. It's just, with the designs from the pumpkin in the background, it was just too messy. And this is just therapeutic to me. Sometimes I have a hard time just getting up here and working, but once I'm up here, I don't want to leave. Oh, and these paints, I love these Dixie Belle paints, but they like sitting out here like this, getting a little dry. Sometimes if you add just a little bit of water, I'm talking like maybe a half a tablespoon to a jar that's 16 ounces, and shake it up real good, that'll kind of help get it back to the original thickness or thinness, and helps last longer. And that's one of the reasons why I kept going back to the FIFO bottles, or started going to the FIFO bottles, because I was hoping I'd minimize my wastage. But when it's coming out and it's already dry from the FIFO bottle, it's not worth the money. You're wasting paint and you're contaminating your paint. Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna do a second coat. That first coat's pretty good, but with it being on a black background, it's gonna need a little bit more white on it, or more fluff on it. So any questions, let me know. When this is dry, I'll do the second coat. I think once the second coat is dry, I'll hop back on here and show you how I take it off, because when the paint's completely dry, I'll use a light sanding block. Sorry about that. There it is. And I'll lightly rub over it, and that'll help break up the paint around the edges and make it easier for me to take the stencil off without pulling the paint up. And it's not that humid here, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue, but you just never know. So, okay, when I get ready for to take it off, I'll let you know. You guys have a great day. Okay, everybody, I've deviated a little bit. I did my second coat of white. I'm letting that dry. It's still a little bit wet, but I've added my black stripe while I was waiting on the top. I really like how it turned out, but I decided to break up this white and add a little pinstripe. I'm just going to let you watch as I work, if you want. So basically, I just put one of these 1-inch tapes along this black line to kind of measure up a little bit. It's not perfect. And I have this 1/4 inch painter's tape I use for my stripes that I'm using to guide me. So I'm gonna have a pinstripe about 1/4 inch. To kind of break up that fluff. I thought I'd just hop on, you guys can watch me do it. This is the fun part about making your own presents. You know, you get a little wild hair, you can do what you want. When somebody else is requesting it, then you kind of have to go by what they want. Okay. Yeah. Instead of fighting that, I'm going to let that go down. And these little 1/4 inch painter's tape I bought off Amazon also. I worked, my first armoire I did was a standing armoire, and I used it to make my stripes. And they were thin stripes. And I see a bubble here. Okay. And that one's overlapping a little bit. I want to get that off because this is my straight line. Okay. So just like with the lettering, I've got a white background here, so I'm going to use my white or my fluff to kind of brandish the edges. Can you believe my paint's dry again? Hang on. Piper, hang on. There. She just opened her eyes on that one. And go along the sides. Got a little bit of a gap there. Okay, let that dry. Yeah. And that is why I have trouble opening my jars. They get dirty like that. Now on the lettering, I can see I got a little bit of a bubble up. Hopefully the black paint I painted over will help prevent that. If I have to go back in, I can always use a baby wipe and my little spatula here and do a little cleanup. I see 2 spots have bubbled up a little bit. Okay. if you decide to, you know, buy paint from Dixie Belle for this, I would suggest sticking with the 8 ounces to start out with, because this paint goes a long way. Unless you're painting some furniture, then you'll need to probably buy a bigger jar, like the 16 ounce. That's still wet. Okay, wait just about a minute. And the reason why the lettering is taking longer to dry is because I use the pouncer and push down a little bit, and it usually applies more paint. And sometimes that's why it only takes like 1 coat, especially if it's on a lighter background. Or if you're going for a rustic look, 1 coat would be perfect. Okay, I'll let that dry, and that'll need a 2nd coat too. Let's see if I can pull the stencil. And I always pull slow, just in case something's sticking. Some people use tweezers for this. I probably should try. You gotta be careful with how deep you go. You don't want to scratch the background underneath. I've got a couple touch-ups to do. Yep, just small little touch-ups, not too bad. I've got one little touch up over here, and once I get that done I can pull the tape. So I will share a picture of it when it's all done, or when this part's done. Any questions, let me know, guys. Hello, it's Melissa with Melissa Peterson Designs. I am working on some bows. I am doing the re-fabbed technique by Brooke. One of my tribe members shared a video. Thank you, Shannon. I started putting it together and I thought, no, wait, I'll just go ahead and go back and see if I can do this and make this work. I am loving the picks at Hobby Lobby, and I got these in the Christmas section. These are actually two separate pieces like these that I just kind of went side to side, and then I just kind of wove them together. I don't know if I'm going to want them this length. I don't know if I'll regret not having them in closer together. I'm just kind of winging it. If it doesn't work out, I can always actually go through and unwind them and try again. So I'm just playing. So I've got two pieces. I found this ribbon in the Christmas section at Hobby Lobby. To me, I think this could be year-round, Halloween, Christmas, neutral decor. I went ahead and picked that up. I kind of measured based on my twigs here. I actually already put the twigs over my sign, but I just put a coat of sealer on it, so I really can't show you because I don't want to risk scratching the sign since I just put a coat of sealer on it. So basically I just measured. I'll show you how I cut it. These are got wire edged ribbons. Hopefully this works okay. I went ahead and folded it. Now forgive me, I don't have sewing scissors, and I'm sure with sewing scissors and with the wired ribbon probably are no-no anyway. So I kind of had some little rough edges, but I basically folded this in half, and then I actually folded it again over itself so the wires are all on the same side, and I want to make a little tail. And I am good at misjudging, so I wanted to do this all together. So I basically went like that. Didn't cut the wire, I just kind of cut up to it. And now I have pretty much the same size tails on both sides. And that's how I did those. So that's how I did all my ribbon there. So I've got them pre-cut. We'll see if this works. I went ahead and this will be my base layer. I wanted this to be in the middle, and that way maybe I can kind of camouflage the middle part. Here's ribbon I got at Dollar General. Thank you, Shannon. I checked there. My hubby had to get something to eat, so he dropped me off real quick and ran over to Wendy's or Burger King. And I found some neat ribbon, so I've got a nice little supply there. I'll put that over the top of that. Of course, now it's not laying down flat like it did before I started here. And then I also got this at Hobby Lobby. Yeah, this is in the Christmas section for $4.99, so I got it 40% off since it's a holiday item. There we go. And I think I'm going to use the same ribbon to tie around it because it was suggested to keep it thin from previous experience. So this part I feel like I'm all 5 thumbs. Like that. Flip everything over and tie it off in the back. We'll see how it works. For some reason I'm super nervous. I might make the tails a little smaller on the silver ones, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll make the tail on the silver ones a little bit shorter. But I think we might have a winner. I'll know more once that sealer is dry and I can actually kind of place it over there and see what I think. But the silver, I think I'm going to cut a little bit shorter. I think we got a winner. I love those picks from Hobby Lobby. I use them in the fall wreath, and I've been kind of stocking up on them a little bit each week, getting some of the ones I like. I'll show you what else I got. Yeah, see, I've been stocking up on these picks because I'm planning on using them in my Christmas wreath that I do for this around Thanksgiving. Any questions, let me know. You guys have a great weekend. I appreciate all your support.